Okay, we're back.
Hello. We are back, like for real back. Like
A while.
it has been a while since we did an episode. Also, we are filming this on Wednesday the 21st, and I just want to say happy birthday to my boyfriend Robert Smith. Love you. And yeah, so shadow people.
Yes,
Shadow
shadow
people.
people. Goth. They're not goth, or maybe they are goth. I don't
Maybe
know.
they are goth.
But we're keeping it on a dark theme going on here with the shadow
Yes.
people and
Yes.
Goth Smith.
Goth Smith. Bob the Goth Smith.
um.
Oh my goodness.
So we have our own experiences with shadow people as well. And we figured we'd kind of come at it from different angles. So I went more the chemical aspect of things and what might be influencing people to see shadow people that they may not have realized that they were being chemically influenced at the time. Candy's going to come at it from the lore angle and
a little bit of science.
Yeah. So who gets
But
to
more
start?
let's start with the lore, I guess, because that's how most people hear about it, right?
True.
So I have my handy dandy notebook. It's Red's Clues. I have a theme today.
I feel like we're going to go through the entire rainbow by the time we're done.
By the time we're done, yes, absolutely. So there's a couple of things that they could be. There's stories in almost every civilization. Again, like a lot of stories that are pretty common, of shadow people. And what it is someone sees like a black human shaped mass where there shouldn't be a shadow. So what is it? Is it like shades from the underworld? Are they jinn? Are they fairy? There's also a Native American legend called the Nalusachito. And those are all basically shadows of people, shades of people that you can see walking around, and sometimes they're dangerous. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they ignore you.
Just like regular people.
The first time that they got discussed, like really widespread, for an audience was in April 2001 on a radio show called Coast to Coast.
I know Coast to Coast.
Yep. And Art Bell interviewed a Native American elder who went by Thunderstrikes or also Harley Swiftier Reagan. They talked about shadow people and the Native American legends of shadow people and what they were. And people were encouraged to submit their drawings. Now, here's a really weird thing. All the drawings were similar from people all around the country that had never talked to each other. And what's weird is that a lot of them, remember when we talked about the Hat Man? A lot of them showed a man with a hat or a man with a walking stick or both. Yeah. Oh, there's more. There's so much.
Yeah.
A woman named Heidi Hollis wrote a book, and she claims that they're evil and that they try to jump on people on their chest and choke them out. But you can repel them in lots of different ways, like praying and things like that. And one of the main things is invoking the name of Jesus. And that will get rid of them because she thinks they're demons. Maybe. Some people say they're menacing, like I said. Some people say that they're just there. Another cool thing they got featured in was The Twilight Zone in 1985. I thought that was neat. Now, there's a couple of things they could be. Like I said, jinn, fairy. I have a close friend who is an addict, and he did a lot of meth back in the day, and he was smoking meth and stuff. And they used to have a thing where they called it running from the shadow people, because they would be all up on meth. They don't know if is it a trick of my eye, is it really something there? But like lights would flicker, stuff would fly across the room. They'd see shadows out of the peripheral vision. Um, I have no explanation for that other than if you're awake for 2 weeks, maybe you're having a psychotic break. But if it's happening within the first couple hours, is it the chemical opening up your mind? Is it the chemical messing with your mind?
We'll talk
You
about
don't
that.
know because there's already something going on there. But there's a couple of other stories. Carl Jung wrote about it in Memories, Dreams, Reflections. Eric Shipton was an explorer. He saw the shadow people during his ascent of Mount Kenya in 1929, and even Charles Dickens wrote about them in his book Little Dorrit. In 1824, it was written about by James Hoggs, and it was written about in that part in these stories as a Brook Inspector. And so what that is it's a big, huge, magnified shadow of someone that's caught in like clouds or mist or something. And what happens is the sun's behind you and it beams your reflection into this. It's been seen in car headlights. It's been seen in just misty things. The cool thing I think I would love to see is it has like a rainbow halo around the head. So maybe it's an angel. Maybe people saw it and thought these are angels. Samuel Taylor Coleridge actually mentioned them in a poem of his. Lewis Carroll mentioned them in Phantasmagoria. So there's also another story that's sort of like the Brook Inspector. And it's called the Brook Inspector because it was originally seen in the Broken Mountains in Germany. Just as a by the way, I kind of got all on tangents and out of order on that, but I hope it made sense.
Well, there was also the sighting in California too.
Well, I'm about to get there. Ever since the days of like the old Spanish settlers and stuff, there's been something that they call dark watchers. The Spanish actually called them los vigilantes obscuros, sorry. And they were sometimes wearing hats and had walking sticks, and they were huge, dark, and featureless. They are supposed to watch people from the horizon, not making any motion. No one's ever gotten close to them. Anytime you get up like more than a certain distance from them, they just disappear. Now, I have to wonder, the people that are seeing them wearing hats and carrying walking sticks, are they wearing hats and carrying walking sticks? Is it a sort of phenomenon like the Brook Inspectors where the sun or whatever is reflecting off of the mist and clouds? But it wasn't really mentioned if they were seen in misty times. It just said that they were there. Something that's interesting to me is the Arabic thing, the concept of the jinn is not what we think of as like the genie. Right. This is the Arabs and the Muslims were very cognizant that other people had their own deities and demons and spirits and things like that, and they would incorporate them and accept them, and so they all just fell under the name jinn, even though there were some specifically called the jinn, and they're like trickster spirits, and you have to wonder, are they trickster spirits? Because, you know, when I've seen them, it's always kind of mischievous, like flying across the wall while I'm on a call or something, or just like standing there like, hey, like a toddler. And then you look at it and it's not there anymore. But you know what I mean? Like the toddler breathing through their mouth, like, yeah. Mom. Totally. Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the cause could be. I know that there's a lot of scary ghost stories about them. Um, I don't know if you want to get into the quantum mechanics physics angle now, or you want to wait till you talk about chemistry, and then we'll
Um,
both, because we both have a theory about that.
well, you go ahead and pitch your theory. And
Okay, so my theory is that they could possibly be other dimensional beings from either other timelines or other dimensions
right.
who come through in a spot where it's thin, like where things are almost touching. And so it's very thin and you just see them as they're passing. I think that if they're attacking people, it's because they're confused. Because think about it. To them, we're the shadow people
Oh yeah. I mean, well, not only that, but I
or
mean,
the ghosts or whatever.
just people in general in like a dementia ward. The second the sun starts going down, they kind of go into this space where there's mood altering going on,
Yeah.
and there's confusion and paranoia and terror.
Yep.
And so as far as they're concerned, it's fight or flight.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily that they would attack anybody normally, it's just they're
Hmm.
scared.
Yeah. Yeah. Sleep paralysis demons is another thing I think might be otherworldly entities, but I mean, they fall under shadow people also, I think. But I mean, I think there's something to be said for there are other universes, there are other dimensions. It's arrogant to think there's not.
Right.
Um, and I'm sure that there's thin spots between them.
Oh, absolutely. And sorry, my glasses.
That's okay.
The issues with having long eyelashes and oily skin,
Oh gosh.
that it combines forces. And I never have clean glasses.
Yeah, I feel you.
Carry on.
Uh,
I apologize for the
I lost. I'm derailed. Um, on that, like there's a lot to question here, a lot to question, and I know that some of it could be caused by, as you said, mood altering, mind altering substances. So why don't you tell us about the substances?
Okay, so I want to go on record, first of all, as I'm playing devil's advocate here. I actually do believe in shadow people. I've seen shadow people. When I have seen them, I have not been on any chemical.
Exactly.
As far as I
Yeah.
know, I mean, who knows? It could have been like in my cereal. But
Mhm.
but so possible causes of some of these shadow people sightings are from, there's over the counter drugs that we take on the daily, or without even thinking about it, that contain these chemicals that have hallucinogens in them. So the most popular one typically is Benadryl. We're like, okay, Benadryl. And of course there's
Yeah.
NyQuil and everything else.
Yeah, and the same chemical from Benadryl is in NyQuil and all those
Exactly.
nighttime medicines that you take to help you sleep when you're sick.
Yes. And so another big one is insomnia medication. The most popular one being Ambien.
Really?
Yes. So Ambien has zolpidem in it, which
Okay.
causes cognitive disconnect. It causes like visual, auditory hallucinations, time slippage. Part of the visual hallucinations are trails and shadows, where you're basically seeing stuff out of the corner of your eye or in front of you sometimes. So all of these things that I've been researching, these chemical compounds, I didn't go into the mushrooms because I'm like, okay, if you're taking mushrooms and you see a
You should
shadow person,
expect it.
then
Yeah.
you kind of have to write that off because you did
You kind of asked for it. Yeah.
yeah, you ate mushrooms.
Yeah, it was a request.
Yes, so the lesser known ones, which were kind of surprising to me because I was like, well, holy hell, who even thinks about that one? Were benzodamine, which is used in over-the-counter products for sore throats. That can be lozenges, that can be sprays. I don't know about you, but when I'm getting a
Wait, like the chloroseptic spray and the
I
cough
don't know if
drops
it's
and
in
stuff like that?
Chloraseptic specifically or like which sore
But
throat
just
spray,
like
but sore throat sprays in
type stuff.
general. Right.
Okay.
So if you see that in the ingredients and you are drinking that stuff, because let's face it, if we've got sore throats, we are annoyed by the sore throat. We keep spraying, spraying, spraying. So the recommended dosage isn't going to do it. If you start like going crazy with it, and caveat to all of this, you can poison yourself with this, so don't do it.
Don't do it.
But
Yeah, you could die.
yeah,
We don't
over
want
the
you to
counter
die.
products for sore throats. And here was the surprising one: feminine douche products in Europe. And I'm not going to mention the name because
What?
yeah, who saw that one coming? The hysteria is real, folks.
That's what she said.
But again, you have to do this stuff in mass quantity. So if you've got to do your business with that down there that often that you are hallucinating with this stuff, you got bigger
You got
problems. You
bigger
need to get to a
problems.
doctor because
Yeah.
ew.
Yeah.
Like,
You shouldn't be putting stuff inside there anyway. It's a self-cleaning mechanism.
yeah, and not on the
Just
regular.
as a by the way.
Yeah, so the side effects of this are hallucinations, both auditory and visual, and time distortion. So literally, like, people will be sitting there and the sensations have been kind of like they got abducted by aliens, where they're sitting there and 1 minute it's 2 o'clock, the next minute it's like 7 o'clock and the sun's down, and they're like, where the hell did time go? And it's like, oh no, you're just tripping balls.
Now, doesn't that aren't there some foods that cause this?
Nutmeg. So when you have those weird ass dreams around Christmas time and around the holidays, it is nutmeg more than likely, because there is a thing in nutmeg called myristicin. So raw nutmeg is present in essential oil of nutmeg, obviously in concentrated doses, and in lesser doses in parsley and dill. So
Like, I
yeah,
use parsley on almost every meal because
yes.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And dill I use quite a lot also. Now, I don't see shadow people all the time.
No,
So
because
how
you're
much would
probably
you have to
having,
have?
oh, you have to have like big doses of this stuff. But raw nutmeg, it's pretty instantaneous with raw nutmeg. Like, you go to sleep that night and you got weird dreams.
Mhm.
Like, you can ask anybody, or now that you're paying attention to it, take some nutmeg, throw it on your coffee, and then go to sleep and see what happens. But to get the hallucinogenic properties of nutmeg, and don't do this, kids, because you will have seizures and die. Like, the whole reason you're getting the hallucination is because
Yeah,
you're
maybe
poisoning
just
yourself.
don't go
Yeah,
into like detail on.
yeah. I'm not going to go into the details of it. Suffice it to say, average dose of nutmeg, like the sprinkling on stuff, will give you weird dreams. The amount that you need to poison yourself is not as much as you think.
Yeah, there was a problem a couple of years ago here in our school district about kids using nutmeg to hallucinate, and a lot of them got sick and had seizures and
Oh yeah, it's
nearly died and got brain damage and
yeah. There's no point that's safe. It's literally on the individual, and don't play with it because it's a nasty death.
Mhm.
Like, painful,
Now,
nasty death.
does that mean you can't have it on your coffee? No.
Oh, you totally can.
You can have it in, if there's an essential oil that has it in there, it should be fine.
Right.
Because speaking for myself, when I make essential oils, I'm measuring out how many drops goes in, and it's mixed with others that can counteract and even take away that effect because you're accounting for it,
Yes.
or at least I am accounting for it. Plus, then it's placed in a carrier oil, which further dilutes it.
Right.
So,
You do not want to apply it directly to your skin. You'll get chemical burns.
no, if you have, if you're using essential oils, it's very important to put them in a carrier oil. Very important to
Especially when
put them in a
using
carrier oil,
concentrated essential oils that are already
especially
diluted.
if you're just learning.
Yes.
And if you're going to mix it, wear gloves. I wear
Yep.
gloves when I mix.
I don't, but I also don't really play with anything that's going to be nasty.
Well,
The
and you also
thing,
don't really play with anything that's going to be going to other people all that much
yeah,
anymore
it's
either.
strictly for me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, raw nutmeg. And here's something that you don't even realize: raw nutmeg's effects can last for days. And it
Sorry,
takes,
what?
yeah, it can last for days, and it takes several hours for it to kick in. So that's why you can have it, with your holiday dinner, and then go to sleep and start tripping balls in your sleep, because it's taken that time to get into your system, and it does not leave your system for days. So you can keep hallucinating and seeing weird stuff for days.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, here's where I lean toward the paranormal explanation, though. When I was in the home, back in the day when I was in the home,
Back in the
but
day when all these fields were orange groves.
when I was in the care home, I saw them a lot hanging out in there. Um, and I wasn't really on any more medication than I always am, which is a story for a whole other time. But is it because I was under medicated in so much pain?
Could be.
Could be. Is it because they were attracted to the fact that I was in so much pain?
Could be.
Also could be. Was it for nefarious purposes or were they trying to help?
Could be.
Both? Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Um,
But yeah,
yeah.
so it was surprising to me, like, especially like with Ambien and with insomnia drugs, like common insomnia drugs.
Mhm.
There's all these things that, and it's like, obviously with Ambien, we've discovered, like, oh, hey,
There's issues, yeah. But the
yeah,
Benadryl surprises me, and what really
Benadryl does not
surprised
surprise me.
what really surprises me is the the
Deep breath.
the sore throat medicine.
That shocked me.
Too many difficult sounds to make all at once.
Sore throat medicine. Yes.
Yes.
That one that one shocked me, especially since it's the same stuff that's in a douche.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
The douche and the
Yep.
throat stuff
Benzodiazepine. Damine.
is the same ingredient.
Yes.
So you put it in. Wow.
And I'm just like, is it to numb it? Because
I
it's an
was gonna say, does it numb your
anti-inflammatory.
insides? Like,
Well, it's an anti-inflammatory.
okay.
So it's being used for that. But I'm also like, okay, well then why is it in a douche?
Yeah, like
Like,
if you need an anti-inflammatory in your lady parts, you need a gynecologist.
yeah, you don't need a douche. You
You
need
don't, yeah, you need a
get
doctor.
maybe to get rid of what's causing the irritation. But
You need antibiotics. Ka-zing!
so yeah, so in a Psychology Today article that I read, there was also a connection between shadow people and people who had identified as abductees. That after they had an abduction experience with extraterrestrials, they started to see shadow people.
What do you think that means? Do you
It
have a
was just
theory?
kind of an interesting rabbit hole I fell down while looking at like the sciencey stuff. Um, and it was interesting to me to find a psychology site, and obviously I need to look.
I saw that, but then I was like, well, the science is Susie's thing, so I didn't read it. I kind of
It
regret
was
not reading it now.
the site was really interesting because it also had a bunch of other suggested articles that were dealing with the paranormal. And what does it mean psychologically? Is it
Mhm.
something that's actually paranormal, or is this a side effect of something else? uh,
Right.
so they were kind of diving into that
Yeah. Is
with,
it a symptom of a psychotic break? Is it,
right, is it schizophrenia? uh,
yeah.
so that was kind of where they were coming from with it. The shadow people versus alien abduction was never definitively answered.
What do you think? What's your opinion on it?
I wonder if the alien abduction is just kind of something that our minds make up if we fall into another dimension by accident. Like
Mhm.
some people come back and they're like, "Holy crap, I just like fell through an interdimensional portal and came back out the other side and I'm fine now." And other people are like, "Holy crap, I'm pretty sure I was alien abducted and I don't know where all the time went and I don't know where I was." And they ended up like running through the woods and scratching the hell out of themselves. Or if we're getting abducted and tagged like we tag animals in the wild.
But why is
I mean, it would be kind of ironic, we do it to animals and then we're getting it done to us. Like, yeah, let's put a tracking device and see where you
I
wander.
mean, yeah, I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, stranger things have happened.
and we aren't exactly contact worthy with all of our, unless they want to freaking conquer us and
And
resettle us.
honestly, I feel like they could have done that ages ago. Um, they don't care. They're the apex predator.
Yeah,
they got ships that can sail through time.
yeah. But then again, I also wonder, okay, so alien abduction, so say it happens and it is an actual, because I believe in aliens, obviously, because I do really, like I said before, think it's arrogant to think that we're alone.
Right.
I think it's extremely arrogant to think that we're alone in the universe, in time, in space, where we are located, Um, so say someone did get abducted by aliens. Are the shadow people then like the scientists checking on the animal that they tagged, like you said? Are they just now more inclined, have trying to figure out how to put this. Once you have one sort of paranormal, extra sciency experience, it seems like you're more open to others. And so now that their mind has been opened up by the abduction, are they just seeing things that have already been there?
Could be.
I think that's the best way to ask the question that's happening in my head. Like, have you just been almost like a switch was turned on to where now you are aware of things and see things and
Yeah, could be. I mean, I would like to know if the animals that we tag recognize us when we come back to see how they're doing. And if they're scared or if they realize like, oh, we're just there to check things out.
I think it depends on the animal, really, because there's a lot of animals that are social creatures and reason and things like that. But do they have that object permanence, remembering, okay, well, something happened, it made me fall asleep, I woke up and I felt different, now I've got this collar or whatever on, and there were people around. Like, then 6 months later the people come around again, are they aware? Like, how much object permanence do they have? My dogs
Object,
have a lot of object
yeah.
permanence. They remember where they hid toys in the backyard 6 months ago.
Well, I mean, how
You
much
know,
object permanence do we have? Where, we don't necessarily recognize the things that are abducting us and tagging us, but we know they're there. We know they came back.
well, what's interesting is that they have the same. There's like the same three descriptions amongst them. Seems to be like tall gray ones and little short fat ones, and you know,
And
um,
shadow people.
and the shadow people. So
It's
I don't
interesting.
know. The shadow people, like, this is something that really messes with my head. I don't know about you, but because I can explain most things as, okay, well, that's a lens flare. Oh, there's dust on your camera
Yeah.
lens. Or, you know, I was thinking about someone. And so, of course, I dreamed. Like, I can explain most things and why they're happening.
But how do
And
you explain when you're thinking about someone you haven't spoken to in years and then they pop up which just happened to me recently, in
how
fact.
do I explain that? Well, honey, witchcraft.
Okay, so a friend of mine that I knew back in my graduate school days, so that's 2000, 1998 to 2000. We hung out, and I was just thinking about her, and I was like, I wonder how she's doing. I couldn't remember her last name. All I could remember was her
Mhm.
first name. And literally out of the blue, she wrote to my Facebook account and was like, "Hey, long time no see, blah blah blah." And we started talking like nothing had ever stopped. Now,
Well,
mind you, she is not a witch.
but you are.
Well, yes.
And did you manifest that? Probably. Because think about it, like I've been doing a whole lot of looking into the idea of witchcraft and power and what it means to be a witch and have the kind of beliefs that we do and the kind of focus that we have. And basically what we do when we're doing a spell or whatever is we concentrate on the outcome we want, or we concentrate on a thing, and we give the energy of the universe a little push. So did you inadvertently, law of unintended consequences, think of this person, you're thinking of it really hard, you couldn't think of her last name, and you gave that little push without realizing it?
Yeah, totally
Because
possible.
that's a big thing. The law of unintended consequences, you've got to really
Oh, I'm not
think about
sad,
it.
you
Oh,
know.
no, 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 no. I'm just saying, like in general, the unintended consequences is a big deal for me because okay, so yeah, I want to have $10,000 appear in my lap, but I want it to come in a good way. I don't want it to hurt
Right.
anybody to happen to
Exactly.
come to me. Like, I don't want it to be an inheritance or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so that's a big thing to think about when you're starting to do your manifestations and stuff, children.
But
All
yeah,
you childrens out there.
so with the shadow people though,
Yeah, sorry.
it's interesting because like with the nutmeg, dill, and parsley specifically, those are three big ingredients in Mediterranean food.
Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, and then we've got the gin.
Yes.
And in Italy, there are tricksters. There are men in black, is what it
Yes.
translates out to. They are nowhere near as tall as a full grown human being. They are tiny, maybe about this big. And as a kid, I used to see a trickster hanging around the house. And my grandmother, she knew what they were, and apparently she'd talk to them. So it's
Well, it's
it's weird.
interesting because there's a in Russian folklore, there's a I cannot pronounce the dos hold on. I cannot pronounce the name of it, but it is the house god is what they call them. And it's the little house spirit domovoi, that sounds almost exactly like what you're talking about. It's the household god of a given kin being the family. And they're basically ancestors that have been deified.
Yeah, this dude, he was funny. He looked like a little tiny vampire. Like he reminded me sort of like the
Like a
count. Like
vampire.
he
Like,
reminded me of like the Count from the Muppet Show, just tiny and not purple. He had like this very elongated face with pointy ears and these like big eyes and these little teeny tiny like cat teeth.
aw.
He was cute. I mean, he was
He sounds
adorable.
adorable.
He was, and he had this teeny tiny little voice. And I remember the one day I actually managed to catch him because I'd always see him like flying around corners and stuff, and he was always dressed in black. And so finally, like the one day, I did manage to catch him, and I was so shocked that I caught
Like
him.
in your hands, catch
Yeah,
him.
yeah, I caught him, and he bit me. Like he didn't draw blood or anything. He just,
That explains a lot.
but it was so weird, and I dropped him because I was like, it bit me.
Your little tiny house vampire bit you, huh?
Yeah, and he like laughed. Like I'm sitting there holding him, and he laughed at me, like did like one of those cat bites, you know, when they like nibble you at the front of their teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, like he was playing, and I dropped him because I was like, ah, crazy thing just bit me,
Yeah.
and you know, no blood, no nothing, but and then it ran away,
Hmm.
and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna try to catch him anymore.
Maybe that
Find
was a
out
bad
how,
idea.
but but yeah, like personal experiences with shadow people, like when we moved in here, um, we had like we were working on the house and we were renovating because it needed a lot of work. And you know, the project behind me here was my 2-week project of stripping loads of paint off of the bookshelves, and eventually we just ended up resurfacing them because we couldn't get all the paint off. Um, but I would feel somebody watching me the whole time, like intensely watching me, and not exactly happy. And I was just like, okay, you know, like what the hell? And then the one day I was over cleaning the front window, and out of the corner of my eye, like, you know, my husband had gone to go get sandwiches or whatever, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a man-shaped shadow standing there, and I thought it was my husband back. And I was like, hey, can you get me a soda? And it just stood there, like looking at me. And so I'm like, and I turned to look at it, and it was gone. And I was just like, and I'm like wandering around because you know the house does the circle.
Yeah.
So I go wandering into the dining room and into the kitchen, and I'm like, okay, like there's no way somebody could have even gone through that dining room because it's all the hardwood floors and they all creak.
Right. Yeah,
So
they
you
do creep.
can't take a step. Like my cat used to sound like a, you know, a herd of people walking through there.
I sound like an elephant in that dining room.
Everybody does.
It's insane.
It's so loud.
So loud.
The kids try to sneak through like they're gonna scare us, and we're like, yeah, we can hear you.
That's so cute.
But
That's so
yeah,
cute.
so I go wandering through and there's nobody. And Ty comes back and I'm like, hey, did you like come back and then run away? And he was like, no, I just got back. And I'm like, I was like, okay, that's weird because I saw a person standing there. I assumed it was you. I asked you for a soda and then you wouldn't give it to me.
Just one Pepsi.
Just one Pepsi.
So now at that time, were you like on any medication? Were you pregnant? Were you like, was there
Nothing.
anything? Nothing.
Not even cold medicine.
What were you stripping the cabinets with?
Um, Citrus strip, a non-fume stripper, because it was cold out, so we couldn't open the windows. So I specifically got something that I did not have to air out.
Interesting.
So I put that on, and that was all the way across the room. And then, you know, I kept feeling whatever it was, like staring. And I finally said, like, look, you know, you've got such a nice house. We love the house. We're trying to get it back to the way that it was when you built it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it finally stopped. And now I don't feel that like, you know, intense angry watching anymore. In fact, I will smell hand-rolled cigarettes and pipe tobacco, and I will smell Victorian floral perfume, like kind of wander through here because this used to be the library. So
Now, is that a shadow person or is that a ghost, a house spirit?
it's definitely a ghost. I think he just presented as a
As
shadow
a shadow person.
that kind of freaked me out. But at the same time, it was like it kind of made me rethink shadow people. Like, okay, are they just doing it to be bastards?
That's the thing. Like, my friend my friend who is the recovering addict said that they would do things specifically to mess with him. Like they would appear and it would look like one of their arms had been pulled off or whatever. And like they were always deformed. He couldn't see any facial features, but he could see like deformities and stuff just to mess with them.
Oh, that's so
And
weird.
when I've seen them before, it, like I said, it's something going across the wall up here or, you know, going across the room. And I'm like, can we not today? Um, but there have been a couple of times where it really scared me because it's been at night while I was walking outside alone. Um, trying to get to my car or whatever, and you think you see someone out of the corner of your eye, so you walk a little faster. You don't hear footsteps, but you can feel, that feeling you get
Mm-hmm.
that someone's staring at your back, and you look back and there's no one there, but you can see off to your peripheral vision there should be someone there.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
That's
And
how
I
it
think,
felt when I was cleaning the windows. I literally felt like that, and I was just like, yeah.
and I think that's somebody messing with you, definitely. But why? I don't know. They don't
Well,
want you walking on their street.
it was the original owner of the house, and he was trying to see what we were up to. And then
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about, like, why would they bother you walking to your car at night?
to be
Just
dicks.
because they can. But that's the only time it's ever scared me.
Yeah.
And that happened, I think, like 3 times, and it was in the same area.
Yeah, for the most part, I never get like a bad vibe. Like it's always just kind of there,
Hmm.
like as if it was another person standing there, but not.
Hmm.
So
Well, do you think that it has something to do with being clairaudient?
maybe. I mean,
Um,
when my sister was pregnant with my nephew, she was telling me how just before he was born, she was seeing little shadow balls along the baseboards, and then up at the top, she was seeing light balls, like up by the ceiling, and she was terrified because she was like, what is this? And she said the little shadow balls were kind of like, they were small, and it was literally like just this like swirling ball of like black smoke
mhm.
just kind of zipping along the baseboards. So she was really freaked out by that. And then the balls of light were like zipping all over the ceiling.
Interesting.
I never
That
asked
almost seems like that's ancestors welcoming the baby, though. You,
or
you know what I
something.
mean? Like, that's
Well,
what it feels like to me.
I think she was okay with the light balls, but she was
Not the
trying to
dark
figure out
ones.
the shadows. Yeah. Because she was like, it literally looked like, this swirling blob of smoke. And
Neat.
the impression she gave me while she was telling me the story was the Langoliers. I was just like, damn, if I saw the Langoliers coming after me, even in
Okay.
maybe form, I'm like, done. Even piranhas, small as they are, they'll mess you up.
Oh my goodness.
I don't, I don't need Fizzgig from the Dark Crystal coming after me. Exactly, like it's nothing but hair and teeth.
Yeah. It's a trouble with tribbles.
I have a triple somewhere. I gotta find it.
Oh my goodness.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. I wonder about all of that, because, like, what if when you're getting like, you're out in public or whatever and you're getting the bad feeling, are you feeling something bad that's going to happen or has happened? Like, what if it's a premonition? What if I cannot explain. It bothers me so much that I have no explanation. And when I say logical explanation, that includes the paranormal and the weird and the cryptid, and because that stuff exists.
you gotta embrace your Pisces, man. Just go with the flow.
Well, no, no. It's
It
my
just
sun.
is.
You don't understand. My sun sign is Aries, and my moon sign is Capricorn, and my rising sign is Scorpio.
Oh, jeez.
That should explain to you everything about me.
I just know that I'm a Pisces, and pretty much
Through and through and through.
to try
Yes, you
and
are.
to try and find any explanation for half the stuff I've experienced, it would drive me insane. So it's just like it just is. It's like,
That
and I
doesn't work
think,
for me.
huh?
That doesn't work for me.
Well, see, I mean, and it's probably why I did pretty well in physics, and
Yeah,
because instead of trying to find the end of the infinite number, it was just like, okay, it is the infinite number. Now multiply it. It's like
see,
this stands for this. Now go with that. It's like, okay.
and that's the problem. I need to know the why, the how, the who.
Yeah,
And so I get hung up on that, on
I
the details.
I thought about it once. And I thought about it only because my English teacher in high school, if you said the words forever to him, he would go into like this loop and you could see it happening, like where he would just go like kind of deer in headlights, and you could see him trying to parse out forever and the end of forever. And I'm like, no, dude, just don't.
Been there,
Yeah.
been inside that brain.
Yeah. And the way that I've done it is I turn everything black because in darkness, everything's infinite as far as you know. You don't know the boundaries. So you could be in a room that's about 10 by 10, but if you got all the lights off and nothing,
Then
you
it's
can't
an
see anything.
infinite space.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Will I be able to do that? No, because I'm the fucking person that's always looking for the light switch. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I can feel the floor. There we go. There's my reality.
You're a philosopher's wet dream.
I can feel where the floor is. That's all I need to know. The room, as far as I'm concerned, is a billion miles or 5 feet. I don't know, but
Mhm.
I could be standing in a broom closet.
Well, that's why I enjoy philosophy, is because of all the whys and hows, and philosophers would enjoy you because you're just like, yep, okay,
Yeah. It
sure, that sounds great.
as much as I hate the phrase "it is what it is," when I think of quantum physics, I'm like, it is what it is.
Except for that it's not. It
I
is what
know,
you perceive it to be,
which is what it is
because your
at the time,
perception is reality.
right?
But your
But
perception and my perception are different.
but then our perceptions crisscross at some point,
Yes,
and
bump up against each other.
they do. They intersect. Um,
Yeah.
like the Berenstain universe versus the Berenstain
Yes.
universe. All the shadow people are from the Berenstain universe.
And we're from Berenstein, and that's the problem.
That is the problem. They know.
Uh, we always somehow manage to get it back to the Berenstain thing.
You know, it's a thing. We had the conversation about Oscar Mayer yesterday because we couldn't remember whether it was Meier or Mayer, and we even sang the song.
We did.
It was Mayer.
My
Even though I
baloney has a first name, it's Oscar. My baloney has a second name, it's Meier.
I love to eat it every day. And if you
Because
ask me why, I'll say Oscar Mayer
Cause
had
Oscar
a
has a way with being
well,
well
yeah.
and that's how we spend our time.
That is literally
That
sometimes
is,
what just plays through my head
mhm.
is advertising jingles from the 80s.
Yeah. I wish I was an Oscar Mayer wiener.
You know, my chemistry teacher taught us she was trying to teach us about spontaneous decomposition in chemistry. So she got up on the desk and she tap danced because she also was a tap dancing teacher. And she got up on her desk with her yardstick and tap danced to the tune of I Wish I Was an Oscar Mayer Wiener, but replaced all the lyrics with I Wish I Was an Iron 2 Ion. Oh, that's what I'd really like to be. But if I was an Iron 2 Ion, I'd spontaneously decompose to Iron 3. Boom! I still remember that.
Nice. That's great.
So I have made it my mission to be that teacher from then on. I was like, may everyone remember me as well as I remember that song and the teacher who sang it.
That's fantastic.
It was brilliant. In
I
fact,
remember my 7th grade science teacher, biology, Mr. Bohm, because he was hilarious. And he was this dude that, like, he looked like Chris Christopherson, and he always wore like string ties and stuff.
oh my gosh.
And I lived in Wyoming at the
Oh,
time,
okay.
right?
I was like,
Yeah.
wow, string ties on the East Coast.
No, I lived in Wyoming.
Okay, that
And
makes
he was the funniest dude. And there was like anytime someone would sneeze in class, the thing would be like Say God bless you, you guys. It's not funny. And my 12-year-old self found that the peak of comedy.
That is the peak of comedy, even
And
to
I
this day.
learned everything that man wanted to teach us. I still remember all about splicing plants together and how they did controlled germination and how that helped them start learning about DNA and I remember diagrams that man drew on the chalkboard
Do you know what I
because he
discovered this
just was
morning?
so funny. Hmm.
You want to hear what I discovered? Talk about rabbit holes. This morning, my sister messaged me and says, with this YouTube video, and then she goes, what did she say? Like they're babies or something like that. Hold on. They're still babies. So, pothos. You know, they get like huge in your house and stuff like that. Apparently, they flower. There has not been a recorded flowering in 60 years. The ones we have in the house are just babies. The leaves can grow to be a meter long.
Really?
And 20 meters high. Like the whole plant can grow up to like 20 meters high. I was like, I don't even know how.
I don't even know what.
And so
Okay.
they propagate by, with the little nodes and stuff, so they can actually just create another plant. So basically what's happened is, even though they are angiosperms, they don't have to. Like, why mess with some, because the guy was saying, like, you've got these plants that, they need that input to better for the environment, except that the pothos have bettered themselves and adapted to the environment so well that they don't need to do that anymore. So if you're not broke, why fix it? And so they just literally put out those nodes and make a new plant. Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
and you've learned something today, kids.
You're welcome.
There
I
you
hope
go.
you learned more than one thing today. What are
Yeah.
we going to talk about next time, woman?
Um.
Weird urban legends, scary urban legends?
Yes, urban legends. We can talk about the train wreck on the Boston Bridge,
Okay.
or
Phantom
whatever.
trains.
Yeah, phantom trains.
Anybody have any phantom train stories?
Yeah.
Put it in the comments. Like, subscribe, share, engage. Please engage.
We love you.
We're really happy and excited that we're almost to 50 subscribers because that's a big milestone. It might not seem like much to the people that have 100,000, but to us, it's a big deal.
Yeah, totally a big deal. And not only that, but we've got 500 subscribers on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
I think that's more than my author page right now.
I don't even, that's more people than I know. I don't even know what to say.
I know a lot of people.
I don't know a lot of people. That it's
Would I remember all
unbelievable.
their names? No.
I'm blown away by it, and I'm very grateful
I am as well.
that people actually want to watch
This.
whatever it is we do.
Whatever this is. So tune in next time when we talk about catastrophes on train tracks.
Catastrophes on train tracks. And it's not our conversation.
I've heard some train stories.
Yeah.
I
Time
do.
for some derailment.
Yeah, like real derailment, not just our train of thought.
Yeah. Anyway, we love you. Thank you. Bye.